starting soon. Just setting up some stuff, and I'll be right there. Oh man, I think you know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? I know what time it is. It's time to get this party started. So, today, I've got another awesome, exciting stream for you all. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but we're going to go with it. We have the wrong story up right now on the screen, so you're not looking at that anyway. So, you know what? It's no big deal, right? Let's adjust the zoom on this camera just a little bit, huh? Zoom on, because it looks like I'm like a little out of focus. Don't worry, guys. I'm a consummate professional. There we go. Is that a little better? Am I a little sharper? All right. Good. All right. Let's, oh, I forgot to do the whole, YouTube thing too, so I'm going to pull that up here in the background. So today, I don't know if you guys noticed the stream, but, or what the title of the stream was, rather. But it's, it's a story I am super, super excited about. I can't wait to get in the booth and start recording this. I think you all will enjoy the crap out of this. I know I'm going to. Because I, for one, am a huge Bigfoot fan. That's right. Sasquatch. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm all in. And I just pulled up the thing so I could see the chat on YouTube if you joined me there. So that's what you just heard. But anyways, I'm all in. All in. Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm originally from Washington State, Seattle specifically. And in Seattle, I don't know if you know this, but we do a lot of squatching up there. That's right. We like our squatches, and we like hunting them down. And I don't know why I'm doing a southern drawl. Has nothing to do with that. But it used to be, we used to have a basketball team, if you remember, the Seattle Supersonics for supersonic flight. So what was our mascot for the Seattle Supersonics? Right? Maybe the Space Needle, right? Maybe a giant Space Needle was our thing, or a big like fighter jet or so. No, it was a Sasquatch. Yeah, Bigfoot. That was our mascot. But you know what? I loved it. I loved it. You see the Sasquatch running out into the ring, doing backflips off of a trampoline and slam dunking a basketball. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? A big, giant, hairy Chewbacca doing some basketball tricks. I'd sign up, and I did. I liked watching the Seattle Supersonics until about 98, and then Dynasty's over, and they just weren't good anymore. They just they held their own, I guess, but there was a reason they got sold to Oklahoma. Anyways, this isn't the basketball stream. This is the voiceover stream where we're going to be reading a story here about big feet. All right, so let me bring up that story here real quick. And I thought I had it pulled up, but I pulled up the wrong story. It's the one that we previously read, and that's not going to do, right? It's not going to do at all. So let me pull up that guy right here. Perfect. 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 All right. So, the log line for this one is when a Sasquatch disguised as a human goes to the state capitol to speak against a bill that would make the Sasquatch the official cryptid of Washington state, things do not go according to plan. Ooh, sounds interesting, huh? This story is called The Bill. And if you're looking kind of up top there, there should be a link. I know there's a link to halljameson.com for the author that wrote this fantastic story, and other Twitter or /X, whatever we're calling it these days. I think it's X now. You can see their Twitter handle up there at HAJA Writer. So check them out on Twitch and check their website out. This is going to be a fantastic story. So let's dive into it, shall we? Also, I spent a little time. I got some feedback on the stream that I could improve things with a little thing called a stream deck and switching things, so I don't have to like look away from you guys to do things. So I'm gonna try that out today. If it fails miserably, it fails miserably, and we'll just go from there, right? We'll go back to the drawing board, as it were, right? Anyways, let's go over to the desktop view real quick. Here we go. And let's take a look. So we already have our Reaper session set up here for punch and roll, like we always do. And we've gone up here and we've made sure that our new recording overlaps exist in media items is set to trims. And I just remembered we want to turn off that pesky snap, right? So let's go to here, snap grid, and disable snapping. I think it's Alt-S. Okay, I've got to try to remember that. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and record to this one. Let's go ahead and save this project already, just so we're ready to do our save here later when we're in the middle, so we don't lose our progress. And this one's called The Bill. So we're going to go ahead and name it that. The Bill. Aw. All right. So we have that going there. We have the input monitoring turned off. We have the correct input, which is the right microphone, back in that booth back there, and we'll get this going. I'll take the old cell phone into the booth so I can see you guys. If you ask questions, I can answer them, I can read them. So let's see here. Let's go to my channel. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas, right? Okay, and I gotta mute it, so I don't want to cause a feedback loop. As fun as that is, we don't want that. Okay, there we go. We got it all going, so I should be able to see you guys when you step into the booth. So let's do that. See, today I came prepared. I'm wearing my workout clothes, so it's going to be a little lighter because here in California it's raining today, so it's a little cooler, but it's still pretty warm. So I sweat because we got to turn off that air conditioning system. Here it goes, so that we don't have that noise in the background, right? Let's go ahead and pause our music real quick so we don't forget to do that when we get in the booth. I'm going to step into the booth and set up the iPad, and you guys can follow me. Follow me. We're going to go in there. Here we go. Oh, did you see that? You got a little bit of magic sound in there. Yeah. And I'm in the booth here with you guys, setting up my phone. You know what I should do is bring my water in here in case I need it, so I'll be right back. Let me get started, I swear. I swear. I'm set and ready to go, you guys. I am super excited about this story. And let's get this guy on here. And I've had some coffee before the stream, so I am pumped and ready to go, right? Excited about this one. Alrighty. Here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. This one's going to be good. So I'm probably going to do like I normally do and record this whole thing here for you guys. And you can kind of see as I go and see the method to the madness, or how the sausage is made, whichever one you prefer. And then I'll go into a little bit of editing. Not too much because that's kind of boring to watch. You guys don't want to watch that, right? So we're going to go from there. I think the next stream we're going to have is going to be on Friday. So tune in there. I'll talk more about it at the end of the stream. Hopefully, if I can remember. So that's going to be the next episode of Swift Bear and Laxon. So tune in for that. It's going to be good. This series is going to be good. It's part 2 of the first season here, and I think so far there's about 16 stories written. So this one's going to be a lengthy one, but a good one. I'm excited about it. So, anyways, let's get back to this story. And this will be featured as episode 91.5 called The Bill. And if you go to theotherstories.net, that is where you will hear this episode when it comes out. Our lovely editor and our lovely musician is going to do some magic to this particular recording and give it some love. And then you'll see it up there one of these Mondays here soon. So, without further ado, well, maybe a little bit further ado, I got a little smudgy mark in my glasses. It's distracting me. Not good. I'm new to glasses, so this is all new to me, as you can tell. I'm trying to switch mouse hands here. Yeah, the optometrist is like, dude, when you hit 40, it's all downhill. He wasn't wrong. I mean, he didn't have to say it, but he's right. I don't want to tell him he's right, because then he'd be like, and go to his head. Optometrists, you know how they are. Anyways, let's go into the bill. So we got to decide on a voice for Mr. Sasquatch. So Mr. Sasquatch is narrating this story. So I think we should go with something nice and deep and maybe a little gravelly, right? Because he's a Sasquatch. He's a big, big, tall boy, right? A big man of the forest. So let's see here.
I stopped on the sidewalk, examining my reflection in the long window.
Yeah, I think that'll work. We'll just go a little deeper, and then, hey, in post, if editor wants to deepen it just a little bit, fine by me. So let's arm our track. Let's not forget to do that. And then, yeah, here we go. Let's jump into it.
I stopped on the sidewalk, examining my reflection in the long windows of the Capitol building. Furry face, fedora perched on top of my head, too tight human clothes. Man, I look ridiculous. Today, I needed to look respectable. I just hoped I'd have the courage to do what came.
First mess up. Yay! Ooh, we got the little ding dings on the watches. Good reminder to silence your phones and put your. Didn't mean to hit that button. Put your watch on entertainment mode or theater mode or whatever it's called, so that it's not making noise on you. So let's try this part again. I think, right?
I just hoped I'd have the courage to do what came. Okay. Man, I look ridiculous. Today, I needed to look respectable. I just hoped I'd have the courage to do what I came here for. I fiddled with my collar, drawing in a deep breath, causing a button to pop off my new shirt. Luckily, my necktie reached mid-sternum, long enough to cover the gap. Rows of alternating yellow and red tulips lined the butt.
I want to say buds for some reason, but it's beds. Let's try this again. Odd. Well, it does that sometimes.
A new shirt. Luckily, my necktie reached mid-sternum, long enough to cover the gap. Rows of alternating yellow and red tulips lined the beds next to the building's front entrance. My stomach rumbled. I plucked a bright red dandy and bit off the bloom. A thin man with a hooked nose walked by. Watching me, one eyebrow lifted, he reminded me of an osprey.
Nervous eater? That's actually me, not him. Thought it was him there real quick. Let's try that again.
Watching me, one eyebrow lifted, he reminded me of an osprey. Nervous eater, I said, lifting the stem in his direction and devouring it in 2 bites. The security guard eyed me as I stepped inside. Upstairs with the rest of them. He pointed to a narrow stairway. But I plan on speaking today, I said. I'm here for bill number 2507. Yeah, I gathered that from your costume, he said, smirking. He peered over the top of his glasses at me. You're not going to be a problem for me today, are you, son? Son? I bristled at his familiarity. I was nothing like my father. I rested the... He was nothing like my father. I wouldn't make sense. I love how, like, your eyes switch and you read weird stuff that's not even there. You're not going to be a problem for me today, are you, son? Son? I bristled at his familiarity. He was nothing like my father. I resisted the urge to bite his stupid face. Of course not. Why would I be a problem? The guard shrugged, a look of uncertainty passing over his face. They'll call your name when it's your turn to speak, he mumbled, turning away. I ascended the stairs to the gallery, imagining. Wow, I'm messing it all up today. I'm just going to start over here. There we go. They'll call your name when it's your turn to speak, he mumbled, turning away. I ascended the stairs to the gallery, imagining it would be filled with other nervous citizens in bad suits. But when I reached the top of the stairs, my mouth dropped open. The gallery consisted of 3 rows, each about a dozen seats, occupied not by humans. I don't like the read of that, so I'm just going to do it over. I'm trying to slow down the cadence a little bit because I think it fits more with the character, but I don't want to slow it too much and make it too choppy. So I'm kind of trying to listen to how I'm doing it at the same time, right? So, which could be why I'm messing up a little bit more than I usually do, because I'm trying to focus on too many things. But the deep voice and then the slower cadence, I think, lends to the character a little bit more. Or at least that's what I think for a Sasquatch. Mouth dropped open. The gallery consisted of 3 rows, each about a... Ooh, actually, I messed that up a little bit, so let me go back a little bit. Glad I went back. Let's start from here, actually. But when I reached the top of the stairs, my mouth dropped open. The gallery consisted of 3 rows, each with about a dozen seats, occupied not by humans, but by monsters. Well, sort of. Turned out I was right about the bad suits. The gallery was filled with humans dressed as dragons, monster birds, and freaky fish. My eye fell on 2 shaggy posers lounging in the back row, one of them with his hairy legs propped up on the seat in front of him. When they spotted me, they broke into applause. Yo, dude, great costume! I frowned, looking down at my rumpled shirt. A tuft of fur sprang from the top where the button was missing. Before I could respond, a gavel cracked below. On behalf of the great state of Washington, I call this hearing to order, the man resembling an osprey said. We'll start with the first item on the schedule, Bill number 2507. This bill aims to be the Sasquatch. Aims to name. An osprey said.
We'll start with the first item on the schedule, Bill number 2507. This bill aims to name the Sasquatch, aka Bigfoot, the official cryptid of the state of Washington. We have several community members who would like to speak this morning. You'll each have 2 minutes.
The Osprey glanced at his computer screen.
I'd like to call the first person on the list, Elrod Thomas.
I listened as several people stepped up to defend the bill, discussing how important the Sasquatch was to the state and its economy, particularly as a tourist attraction, claiming it was central to Washington's heart and identity. The people from the gallery were scattered amongst the bill's supporters.
Are they right? The people from the gallery were scattered amongst, but yeah, I did. Okay. Let's go back a little bit and do it from here.
To Washington's heart and identity. The people from the gallery were scattered amongst the bill's supporters, and they tried to make a case, in most cases, rather poorly, for the creature they were representing.
That needs to flow a little bit better, because that sucked. Oh my gosh. It's doing that whole snapping thing again.
And they tried to make a case.
Okay. Let's go from here and start again.
To Washington's heart and identity. The people from the gallery were scattered amongst the bill's supporters, and tried to make a case, in most cases rather poorly, for the creature they were representing. Then it was my turn.
Mr. Sid Cypress?
A pause.
Mr. Cypress, are you here?
It took me a minute to recognize my fake name, my real name unpronounceable by humans. Yes, I'm here. I jumped up and thumped down the stairs. I paused at the bottom, a wave of terror passing over me. Public speaking was not my forte. And a wave of terror passing over me. Public speaking was not my forte. A wave of terror passing over me. Public speaking was not my forte. I began to pant as nerves took over. I can't do this. Something grasped my hand and squeezed. I looked down. A little human girl stood next to me. She squeezed my hand again.
Don't be nervous. You'll do great,
she said, smiling. Anxious conversation rippled through the auditorium as I stepped up to the podium. The light turned green and I leaned over, nearly bent in two, my lips practically touching the microphone, and said in a booming voice, "Good morning!" Feedback whined through the room, and several of the panel members whined. And said in a booming voice, "Good morning!" Feedback whined through the room, and said in a booming voice, "Good morning!" Feedback whined through the room, and several of the panel members winced.
Just speak in your normal voice,
the lady in the center said, smiling.
No need to hunch over the microphone. We'll hear you, I promise.
She was pretty for a human, and her smile was genuine. I liked her immediately. She reminded me of a meadowlark. I straightened, heat spreading across my nose and cheeks. "Sorry," I said hoarsely. "I'm just a little nervous. I've never done anything like this before." The meadowlark nodded at me encouragingly, but said nothing. The other panel members wore
Perplexed. I'm going to try this. Maybe that'll work better. There we go.
Never done anything like this before. The meadowlark nodded at me encouragingly, but said nothing. The other panel members wore perplexed expressions. Decided to get on with it or lose them entirely. I just wanted to say, well, sorry. I cleared my throat and glanced over my shoulder. The little girl shot me a thumbs up. I nodded and turned back to the panel. I came here today on behalf of the beings you call Sasquatch. I want to be clear. I am not an impersonator, nor am I what you refer to as a cryptid. A cryptid is a monster, am I right? I spread my arms. Do I look like a monster? The panelists glanced at each other uneasily. One of them, a man who looked very much like an opossum, shrugged.
I thought the opossum was going to speak, so I was going to go into his voice. But it's him again. Sasquatchy.
One of them, a man who looked very much like an opossum, shrugged. I've done a lot of research about this bill, and while I understand the position of the supporters and am flattered by it, I wholeheartedly disagree with it. We Sasquatch are private beings. We do not want our image marketed, our personas objectified, or our homes encroached upon. We, too, love the great state of Washington, but we are not interested in being labeled and exploited by humans for their entertainment and monetary gain.
Excuse me, Mr. Cypress, but are you trying to tell us that you are actually a Sasquatch, and based on this you cannot be the state cryptid because you, in fact, exist?
The opossum said. Exactly, I said, thumping a fist on the podium. That's why I'm against this bill.
I must admit, Mr. Cypress, yours is one of the better costumes I've seen today,
the osprey said. Laughter floated through the room. Costume? No, you're not listening. I tossed my fedora to the side, undid the human man bun on my back.
Human man buns. I mean, you know, if you're going to do it right, right?
Laughter floated through the room. Costume? No, you're not listening. I tossed my fedora to the side, undid the human man bun on the back of my skull, shook my head to loosen my mane, removed my reading glasses, dropped my trousers, and ripped off my jacket, shirt, and tie. I stood before them, en natural, arms spread. Does this look like a costume to you? Stunned silence. The light on the podium clicked to red.
Sir, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
The meadowlark squeaked. But I have more to say.
Sir, you had your 2 minutes. Oh, it's the opossum.
The meadowlark squeaked. But I have more to say.
Sir, you had your 2 minutes. Please, take a seat,
the opossum said, frowning down his pointy marsupial nose at me.
Next on the list, Mrs. Molly Epler.
I sighed, picked up my discarded clothes, and slid into an empty seat near the podium as the little girl who had encouraged me stepped up. She removed a piece of crumpled notebook paper from her pocket and smoothed it between her hands. The security guard stepped over and lowered the mic. There you go, sweetie.
Sweetheart.
her pocket and smoothed it between her hands. The security guard stepped over and lowered the mic.
There you go, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Molly said in a firm and confident voice.
My name is Molly Epler, and I'm here today representing Miss Getchell's. Miss what? Getchell's. Oh, I was close. Representing Miss Getchell's third grade class. The story's going great so far. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it as much as me. This is really fun. The voice is a little taxing, but nothing we can't manage, right? All right. So let's go back here a little bit. My name is Molly Epler, and I'm. Thank you.
Molly said in a firm and confident voice.
My name is Molly Epler, and I'm here today representing Miss Getchell's third grade class in support of this bill.
She glanced at me with wide eyes before stepping over to a flip chart. She lifted the cover, revealing a furry creature with big feet and sable fur drawn in looping strokes of crayon. The artist had scrawled his signature, Justin, in the lower right-hand corner.
The Sasquatch is a grand and noble creature that deserves the honor of being the cryptid of the state of Washington. We humans could learn a lot from them. They are amazing creatures. But, honey, you understand that the Sasquatch doesn't really exist. That's why the bill labels them as cryptids. All right. I don't like that, and I think I switched his voice up a little bit. Let me see. You understand. But, honey. I think that's what I did. But, honey. They are amazing creatures. But, honey, you understand that Sasquatch doesn't really exist. That's why the bill labels them as cryptids. I want to be a little bit more snarky, and I want to kind of go back and remember the voice a little bit of the opossum, maybe? So let's go back a little ways.
Vern lowered the mic.
Oh, it's going to have to be a little further than that. Next on the list, Mrs. Molly Epler.
I sighed, picked up my discarded clothes, and slid into an empty seat near the podium as the little girl who had encouraged me stepped up. She removed a piece of crumpled notebook paper from her pocket and smoothed it between her hands. The security guard stepped over and lowered the mic.
Next on the list, we humans could learn a lot from them. They are amazing creatures. But, honey, you understand that the Sasquatch doesn't really exist. That's why the bill labels them as cryptids.
The opossum said in a condescending voice. I jumped to my feet and shouted, I object, Your Honor! Please, weren't you listening? We do exist, and I want to be left alone.
Mr. Cypress, was it? This is not a trial, and I am definitely not a judge,
the opossum said.
You've had your time to speak. Please, don't interrupt again, or I'll have you removed.
Molly continued.
I understand. A cryptid is a creature that mainstream science does not accept due to the lack of evidence, but only because the Sasquatch is smarter than humans. They're skilled at remaining hidden, even right under our noses. But this doesn't mean that they shouldn't be honored.
But, honey, you understand that the Sasquatch doesn't really exist. That's why the bill labels them as cryptids.
The opossum said.
Mr. Cypress, was it? This is not a trial, and I am definitely judge.
The opossum said.
You've had your time to speak. Please, don't interrupt again, or I'll have you removed.
Molly continued.
There we go. Let's continue with Molly.
Please, don't interrupt again, or I'll have you removed.
Molly continued.
I understand. A cryptid is a creature that mainstream science does not accept due to the lack of evidence, but only because the Sasquatch is smarter than humans. They're skilled at remaining hidden, even right under our noses. But this doesn't mean they shouldn't be honored.
The light clicked to red. The gavel cracked.
Thank you, Miss Epler. Your remarks have been recorded.
That wasn't the opossum, and I didn't read ahead because I'm silly.
Thank you, Miss.
Mean they shouldn't be honored.
The light clicked to red. The gavel cracked.
Thank you, Miss Epler. Your remarks have been recorded.
The meadowlark said, smiling.
That brings this meeting to make Bigfoot the official state cryptid of Washington to a close.
For the record, we really don't like being called Bigfoot, I started. The opossum held up a bony finger to silence me.
Mr. Cryptus,
he said.
I do like that he might mess it up, but that's not what was written. It was Cypress.
Mr.
We really don't like being called Bigfoot, I started. The opossum held up a bony finger to silence me.
Mr. Cypress,
he said.
We are out of time. All remarks have been recorded. If you desire an amendment to this bill, please contact the bill's author, as noted on the schedule.
How do I know if this becomes law? I said.
If by some miracle this makes it to the governor's desk, I'm sure it will be on every news station, sir. Just keep an ear out.
I slumped against the stone wall outside the Capitol, munching on another tulip. Molly Epler joined me.
I don't think they took us seriously,
she said, frowning. Probably for the best. My tribe didn't want me coming here anyway. It's just the whole cryptid thing really rankles me.
Well, I believe you,
she said.
And if I'd known how much this bill upsets you, I'd never have come here to support it. I just really like the Sasquatch. A Sasquatch saved me from a sea monster when I was 4.
Oh, that was you? That would have been my... I opened my mouth half.
Stop.
Oh, that was you? That would have been my...
Monster when I was 4.
Oh, that was you? That would have been my... I opened my mouth and half shrieked, half grunted. She often tells the story of the little human girl that she saved from the Wolatok. Molly giggled.
I like the way you talk. How would you pronounce my name?
Molly? It would be something like this. I whistled and clicked my tongue. And my name would be 2 short whistles and a growl. A silver sedan pulled up across the street.
That's my mom. It was nice to meet you.
Molly gave 2 short whistles and a growl. I grinned. Very good. It was great to meet you too, Molly. Molly skipped toward her mother's car. I watched her go, my smile fading when I saw a dented blue hatchback speeding towards her. I sprinted over, reaching her in seconds, pulling her from harm's way. "Are you okay?" I said.
I'm fine,
She said.
but you should go. All right, my headset is wireless and the battery's about to die, and I hope that the click didn't get picked up there. I got to switch that out. Let's see if that messed up that line. Oops. Come on. Okay. Stop.
My smile fading when I saw a dented blue hatchback speeding towards her. I sprinted over, reaching her in seconds, pulling her from harm's way. "Are you?" My smile fading when I saw a dented blue hatchback speeding towards her. I sprinted over, reaching her in seconds, pulling her from harm's way. "Are you okay?" I said.
I'm fine.
My smile fading when I saw a dented blue hatchback speeding towards her. I sprinted over, reaching her in seconds, pulling her from harm's way. "Are you okay?" I said.
I'm fine,
She said.
but you should. Yeah, it hurt it. I'm fine. Okay, let me change out the battery. I'll be right back. Changing out the battery. Okay, back into the sweat den, as it were. We're almost done with it here. At the exciting conclusion of the story. All right, here we go.
I sprinted over, reaching her in seconds, pulling her from harm's way. "Are you okay?" I said.
I'm fine,
She said.
but you should go.
She nodded towards the crowd gathering on the Capitol's lawn, drawn by the sound of the squealing tires. As I crossed the street, arms swinging, trying to be casual as I disappeared into the nearby neighborhood, one human raised their phone to snap a photo. I hunkered in the darkness as Tribe Elder connected to the Wi-Fi of a nearby farmhouse. The tablet, borrowed from a human campsite, cradled in her hands, illuminating her hairy face. She grunted at me, shook her head.
You made the front page. Listen to this.
She cleared her throat.
It was an interesting day at the state capitol, as a man disguised as a Sasquatch, who claimed to be disguised as a man, testified against the bill to make the Sasquatch the state cryptid. The same man, or beast, prevented a 9-year-old girl from being struck by a vehicle on Capitol Boulevard after the hearing. The hero fled on foot after the near miss, disappearing into the nearby residential area, but not before a tourist snapped the photo above. Man or beast, you decide.
The elder held up the device so I could see the screen. On it was a clear shot of me, caught mid-stride, peering back at the camera.
California all over again. Hopefully we won't have to relocate, though Vancouver Island does sound nice.
She shook her head and sighed as she looked at the photo again.
Like mother, like son.
All right, there we go. Great story. I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that. I'm going to step out of the booth here again, and we're going to do a little bit of editing, and then we'll call it a day, call it a show, call it a wrap. So I'll meet you guys back there.
Whew. All right. Turn on the air conditioning. It's our reward for doing so well. Before I forget, and I can't believe I haven't done it already, make sure we save all of our projects here. All right. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that. It's a cute little story. It has a little bit of the supernatural in there, so it still kind of fits in with the horror supernatural theme of the other stories. This one was a lot of fun to do, and I'm glad you could join me on this. So let's go into editing. Let's go ahead and we'll do just a real quick effects on it like we did last time, and I'll show you that. We don't have to. We can do this all in Audition, but
I stopped on the sidewalk,
raise
examining
the
my
volume a bit.
reflection in the long windows of the Capitol building. Furry face, fedora perched on top of my head.
Actually, I might
Too
not.
tight human clothes. Man, I look ridiculous. Today, I needed to look respectable.
Because there was a couple of times that I shouted, so maybe I won't. I am going to apply an effects chain to it. Let's do the RX10 voice denoise. And I have that set pretty low and adaptive, so it shouldn't interfere with it too much. Then we'll add our mouth declick in case that's on there. And then we're also going to do a DS just generally overall, and that's set pretty light as well. Right at the standard, so it shouldn't be too harsh. And we can take just a listen to it just to make sure.
I stopped on the sidewalk, examining my reflection in the long windows of the Capitol building. Furry face.
Yep. Okay, and we're going to save all projects again, and then we'll go ahead and go up here to render. Okay, and then we're going to put it in the bill of the other stories. That looks good. Okay, we're going to output it as a wave, and then let's make sure that, there we go. That's why I did it last time. If you were here yesterday for yesterday's stream, it output it in stereo. And I'm like, why did it output it in stereo? It's because I had the channel set to stereo. That's why. So set your channels to mono, and that's most recordings that you're going to do. It's going to be in mono because there's no music per se to it, right? It's just your voice. Now, that's not to say that a mono track couldn't be added to a stereo production where there is music and stuff going on and things going from right to left and we want to differentiate, but your recording of just your voice just needs to be mono. If it needs to be stereo for some reason, your editor can do that, right? It shouldn't need to be, but here we go. We're going to render this file out, and that should take just a couple of seconds here, and we'll see it going. Some things to note too, you'll know if this is peaking a little bit. If you see on this kind of wave diagram as it goes, if it goes red, you'll know that peaks. Now, you'll have a little bit of headroom because there's always a little bit of digital headroom. So not that big of a deal if it's just slightly into the red and you peaked a little bit, but you don't want it to be there for a long time, and you don't want it to be like really there, right? Like way past where you're distorting, where it's very audible, very obvious. So we're going to let it finish here. Shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, it looks like about a minute left on this one. So once again, check out Soul Twin Audio's network at youtube.com/@SoulTwinAudioNetwork. They're one of the sponsors of today's show, and I thank them very much for being here and sponsoring this show, rather. The other stories.net. Make sure you check them out. That's where this episode will air. Again, episode 91.5, The Bill. Episodes come out on Mondays, so look for that. And then, of course, the author, right? We want to get all of their info out there. HallJameson.com, or on X, formerly known as Twitter, kind of like Prince, right? HAJA Writer, at HAJA Writer, if you want to keep up with them. All right, looks like we've finished here, so I'm going to switch it over. I'm going to turn my hat around real quick. So now I'm in editing mode. All right. That, and I keep headbutting my microphone. We don't want to hear that. There we go. Okay, so let's open this folder because I'm going to drag it into Adobe Audition. There we go. Okay, we're going to close this. Close this. Yes, we're going to save it. We're going to minimize this, and we'll refer to it if we need to. Open up. Uh-oh. There's probably an update. There we go. Adobe Audition 2024, that's why. All right. We had an update. Hopefully it didn't change things too much. Because otherwise, this is going to be a learning session. All right, it doesn't look like it did, though. So let's go ahead and grab our file. Boop. There we go. All right, let's give it one more cleanup pass before we go into it. Just in case, really gradual kind of removal there of any kind of noise. And then we're going to probably bump this up just a little bit. Alrighty, and for your longer projects, this can take a while, especially when you're doing mouth declick. That process takes a while. I highly recommend getting Isotope RX. I know it's a little bit expensive, but it is worth it. There's a reason that this is almost an industry standard when it comes to movies and them fixing sound files and things like that, because it is the #1 professional tool in my opinion. I've used lots of them, and this is the best by far because the granularity of control and the amazing job that it does. I can be very subtle with it, or I can be very aggressive with it if I want. I'm usually not very aggressive with it because that ends up making your audio sound like you're talking through a tin can, right? But this has the adaptive kind of filter too, and it's really good at taking things out like hums and hisses and anything in your background, really, outside of like loud pops or clicks or something like that. For that, Adobe Audition's great because you can go into the spectral view and kind of heal those frequencies. If that happens on one of these, I'll show you that one day. It's actually kind of neat. All right, so let's zoom into our timeline here and go to the beginning. Actually, I can probably just generally overall give this thing a nice little boost to -1. I don't want to go above. Yeah, hitting 0 there. Just a little bit of a boost. And then maybe as we go, we'll boost away here too. We get up to our spikes here. I don't want to adjust them, but I want to kind of bring most of this up just a little bit. Yeah, so it's a little bit more working room here. Okay, so let's take a listen. And I've, ahead of time, if you noticed yesterday, I didn't really explain it in great detail, but I go through and I either silence the breaths in, or I take the gain and lower them way down so it's very slight. I just don't want breaths to be distracting. They still need to be there, because I've covered this ad nauseum, right? If you remove all the breaths, then it sounds weird. Don't do that. Leave some in. You have to breathe. It's natural, right? But I don't want them very loud and distracting, right? And it probably, as it is right now, probably doesn't bother a lot of people, but it bothers me. So that's why I go in and edit that just a little bit while we're there. Just checking chat, make sure nobody's chatting. Good. Okay. So let's dive into it, shall we? Here we go.
I stopped on the sidewalk, examining my reflection in the long windows of the Capitol building. Furry face, fedora perched on top of my head, too tight human clothes. Man, I look ridiculous. Today, I needed to look
I'll silence that one in between.
ridiculous. Today, I needed to look respectable. I just hoped I'd have...
Okay, there's a little bit of space there that we don't need, so we're going to delete that space.
I just hoped I'd have the courage to do what I came here for. I fiddled with my collar, drawing in a deep breath, causing a button to pop off my new shirt. Luckily, my necktie reached mid-sternum, long enough to cover the gap. Rows of alternating yellow and red tulips lined the beds next to the building's front entrance. My stomach rumbled. I plucked a bright red dainty and bit off the bloom. A thin man with a hooked nose walked by. Watching me, one eyebrow lifted, he reminded me of an osprey.
There's a little like lip smack there that the declicker didn't find, so we're just going to go ahead and remove that. Let's listen for pacing.
A thin man with a hooked nose walked by. Watching me, one eyebrow lifted. He reminded me of one eyebrow lifted. He reminded me of an osprey. Nervous eater, I said, lifting the stem in his direction and devouring it in 2 bites. The security guard eyed me as I stepped inside.
Okay, a little bit of pause there. We're going to remove that.
Inside. Upstairs with the rest of them. He pointed to a narrow stairway. But I plan on speaking today, I said. I'm here for bill number 2507. Yeah, I gathered that from your costume, he said, smirking. He peered over the top of his glasses at me. You're not going to be a problem for me today, are you, son? Son? I bristled at his familiarity. He was nothing. Are you, son? Son? I bristled at his familiarity. He was nothing like my father. He was nothing like my father. I resisted the urge to bite his stupid face. Of course not. Why? Of course not. Why would I be a problem? The guard shrugged, a look of uncertainty passing over his face. They'll call your name when it's your turn. Passing over his face. They'll call your name when it's your turn to speak, he mumbled, turning away. They'll call your name when it's your turn to speak, he mumbled, turning away. I ascended the stairs to the gallery, imagining it would be filled with other nervous citizens in bad suits. But when I reached the top of the stairs, my mouth dropped open.
Probably take out some of this pause.
My mouth dropped open. The gallery consisted of 3 rows, each with about a dozen seats, occupied not by humans, but by monsters. Well, sort of. Turned out I was right about the bad suits. The gallery was filled with humans dressed as dragons, monster birds, and freaky fish. My eye fell on 2 shaggy posers lounging in the back row, one of them with his hairy legs propped up on the seat in front of him. When they spotted me, they broke into applause. Yo, dude, great costume!
All right. And we'll stop it there. I won't kind of torture you anymore with the flow of editing, but that's pretty much my process to it, right? I take some of the sounds or breath sounds and just kind of lower them down, take some of the volume out of them, and then I mute other breath intakes because they don't necessarily need to be there, and they're a little bit more distracting even if I have them in. And then I adjust as we go for pacing, right? So if there's any longer than usual pauses that's not at the start of a new paragraph, and sometimes it's helpful too to pull up your copy and take a look at that and make sure that the where the paragraphs are so that you have proper spacing for them, and go from there. So you can always have that open and kind of keep referencing that, and that'll kind of help you as you go through and you start editing these things. So I'm going to go ahead and save it here, and that'll mark the end of today's live stream. thank you so much for joining us. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Round of applause for joining me today during the live stream. There will be another live stream this Friday, and like I was saying earlier in the booth, it's going to be episode 2 of Swift Bear and Laxon. So if you were here on Monday, yesterday, and you saw the it was Monday, right? Yeah, it was Monday. I was like, wait, this is Tuesday, right? I'm like losing track of my days. It's the heat in that booth, just wipes the brain. Anyways, if you're here on Monday, you heard episode 1. If you didn't, go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com /SnuffyVO, and you can look kind of in the Swift Bear and Laxon. I've made that its own playlist, so as we record more of these, eventually 16 of them, you'll kind of have them all there if you want to go back and refer to any of them. I will say that the final finished production is probably a lot better if you just want to listen to the story. Don't go listen to those. Go to theotherstories.net and listen to the episodes there, because it'll be a lot better listening to it all kind of put together. But if you want to see how I recorded those episodes, you want to pick up any kind of techniques, that would be a way to do it. You know what I might do next time that I'm thinking about it from recording this episode is I might show you guys another technique for character lines. So if you notice today, I stumbled a little bit on switching between characters because I wasn't reading ahead properly, and I stumbled on some of them, had to go back and, punch and roll, no biggie, but it would save me time if I didn't have to do that. And there's a really cool way, a pretty simple way. You probably already know the way, but I'm going to show it off next time, maybe here with some character lines in the next story. So that way it just kind of speeds you up through it. So we'll go into that. I'll leave that as kind of your cliffhanger, and maybe a reason you join me the next time on the live stream, if you will. And if you're watching this in post, tell me what you thought of this story today. Or maybe, hey, go to theotherstories.net. Tell me what your favorite story is there from them. Or, hey, maybe check out one of our other sponsors like Soul Twin Audio Networks on YouTube, and tell me what your favorite episode is out of all the creations that Rachel has with her stuff there. I bet you if you listen to Rope, it'll probably be one of your favorites, because it's a pretty cool guy, in that episode. He was one of the main characters. But anyways, go check that stuff out. I would appreciate it if you did. We'll go ahead and kind of wrap this up. I'll talk to you guys next time. That'll be Friday, 6:30 p.m.-ish. Pacific time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Who we gonna raid? Let's take a look. Who we got? Maybe we'll do the Ghost House. He does music, but it's artistic, right? Let's do it. Alrighty, everybody. See you tomorrow, or not tomorrow. See you Friday.
Really gets me intrigued, gets me going. I just love the sound. Very fun, floaty. Sounds great. Hell yeah. So yeah, let's keep it going. Like I said, we do have more skips coming up. We have Rain coming up in just a second. We also have a free skip from Kurosu.